Hey music lovers, it's Curtis Young here with Young LP Lovers. Thanks for stopping in and chatting music. I'm here to do another tag. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to do any more of the tags after the annual vinyl tag, but this one called to my patriotic nature. Yeah, it got the best of me, so I definitely wanted to hop on this one. It's put out by Daryl up at Northern Vinyl Guy. Daryl's a fellow Canadian, lives way up north with polar bears and whatnot. True Canadian, yeah? Not like us southerners down here. But anyway, Daryl put out this tag that is around Canadian stereotypes. And he based it off a beer commercial, of all things. It's got to be 10, 15 maybe years old now. The I Am Canadian commercial, very iconic commercial. And what I'll do is before each question, you come up with 16 questions, and I'm going to put the clip from the commercial, the beer commercial, in so you know what I'm talking about. Joe over at Racer Records did the same thing. Yeah, and I love that. So I'm gonna piggyback on what Joe did there, and yeah, do the same thing. Most of the artists you're probably not going to know here, unless you're Canadian, of course. And even if you are Canadian, I got a lot of East Coast artists here and so forth. So hey, you might learn something. Hey, stick around. You might enjoy it. Yeah, I'm going to try to tell some stories about the artists and so forth. So something in here for everyone. So let's get started.
Hey, I'm not a lumberjack or a fur trader. And
Hey, I got a new helper. Check it out. This is Emily. Emily's going to help me with the rest of the video. So 2 Canadians are better than 1, right? All right. Thank you, Emily. All right. So lumberjacks and fur traders. Yeah, that's a stereotype of what we do in Canada. But I guess I'm going to reinforce this stereotype because when I'm not doing my job teaching, what am I doing, Emily?
Fishing.
Yeah, fishing lobster, right? Typical Nova Scotia thing. You know, natural resources are a big part of what we do here in Canada, right? So still to this day. So Darren wants us to show a folk music album or a pioneer music album. So I'm leaning into the pioneer idea here. And this fella is a true pioneer of the Canadian music industry from Nova Scotia here. From Nova Scotia to Nashville to the Grand Ole Opry and to the Country Music Hall of Fame and many other Hall of Fames. I'm talking about, go ahead and put it up there, Hank Snow. Yeah, this is my story. It's a 2 LP set. I think the first LP is just all interviews and the second is like a compilation of his greatest hits. So yeah, country music singer, born in 1914 in Liverpool, Nova Scotia, not that other Liverpool with those other 4 musicians, yeah? Okay, England, you win this time. You get the Beatles. We'll take Hank Snow. But I'd actually argue, and I'm going to try to make the argument here, stay with me, that Hank Snow would have been an influence to the Fab 4 across the pond. Sounds unlikely, right? But, I mean, stick with me a little bit. Hank Snow was active from like 1936 to 1996. Super prolific, like put out 140 albums, 85 singles, all between like 1950 and 1980. In 1950 is when he had like a big breakthrough with the song I'm Moving On. It's here somewhere. Last one on side A. There it is. It closes out the disc 1 rather. This is kind of like a fast train-driven song that's kind of built on momentum. That fast song feeds straight in to rock and roll. By 1954, a young fella by the name of Elvis Presley. You know that name?
Yes.
Yeah, you got some Elvis records, don't you?
I think I have like 1.
Yeah, I know you do because I gave it to you. Elvis Presley covered that song, and soon he found himself opening shows for Hank Snow on tour. And this is, I think, where things get interesting. Snow hired a sharp-looking, smooth-talking promoter named Colonel Tom Parker. Parker notices that Elvis is getting the fans more riled up than Hank Snow is, and inadvertently introduces Elvis to Tom, the Colonel, right? And then from there, Elvis really begins to explode, right? Hank Snow's songs are covered by Johnny Cash, Ray Charles, George Jones, Buck Owens, and many, many, many others. Johnny Cash actually does the definitive version of his song, I've Been Everywhere. You know the one. 1962, he came out on Johnny Cash's San Quentin album. No, sorry. San Quentin was 1969, sorry. And that kind of became like the definitive version. And, of course, all that rock and roll is going across the Atlantic to the other Liverpool area. Like the Yardbirds are covering some of Hank Snow's songs, doing the same clubs and the same scenes where the Beatles are from, right? So I know it's a bit of a stretch, right? But Hank Snow, from rockabilly to rock and roll, from Liverpool, Nova Scotia, to Liverpool in England.
And I don't live in an igloo or eat blubber or own a dog sled. And I...
Okay, for this one, Daryl wants us to show an album or song associated with the cold. Cold, yeah? It's a bit of a stretch, Emily. Who do we got here?
This dude.
This dude. This is Snow. Yeah, Snow is cold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Snow's, I think it's his second album, Murder Love. Yeah, so I'm going to put it down so I can get a little space between us here. So Snow was raised in Toronto in the suburbs. Darren O'Brien, aka Snow, had a really kind of rough and tough childhood. During his youth, he befriended a lot of the Caribbean immigrants in the community and ended up copying their dialect and their cadence in his lyrics. Of course, when you hear Snow, you think instantly of Informer off his first album. Yeah, that was his massive global hit. But in 2000, when this album, or 2002, I guess, when this album was released, he was on a very different mission. Murder Love is an album that kind of marked his full return to reggae and dance hall in less kind of like pop crossover. It was recorded in Jamaica with musical icons like Sly and Robbie and other top tier musicians. The album kind of leans a lot into roots and culture and sort of lived experience. And it's that rough lived experience that he had living in the poor suburbs of Toronto that comes through here on this album. It's not so much about violence. It's more about the push and pull between the hardships of life and survival, right? The street reality. Tracks like Still the Same Man and Working show Snow reconnecting with his reggae tradition he grew up with in the Toronto Jamaican communities. The album didn't chase charts, it chased credibility. And in doing so, it reminded listeners that Snow wasn't a novelty hitmaker. He was a reggae artist first. At least that's what he was trying to produce, right? That's what he was trying to come through. And I think he did it here, you know. The track, my favorite track on here is the one with Nadine Sutherland, Anything for You. Dance floor filler, man. It's an excellent track. And yeah. You know what? Figure a way to get some reggae into my video.
And I don't know Jimmy, Sally, or Susie from Canada, although I'm certain they're really, really nice.
All right, so for this one, Daryl wants us to show an album by a band or artist named Jimmy, Sally, or Susie, or Tom, or Dick, or Harry, or Joe. So yeah, I've got this one right here. Pop it up, Emily. All right, so this is the Jimmy Swift Band. So if you were around Atlantic Canada in the early 2000s, you'd probably remember the Jimmy Swift Band. They formed in Halifax, Nova Scotia. They're a rock and jam and electronic groove-orientated group that was really built for the live performance. They became legendary for their high energy shows, their extended jam sessions, and their relentless touring. Like, I remember reading that they were sometimes playing over 200 shows a year. Albums like Now They Will Know We Were Here and Onward Through the Fog captured the group's studio sound, but the Jimmy Swift Band were really about movement, rhythm, and communal energy. They were a festival staple at places like the Evolve Festival, and they helped shape the East Coast jam and indie scene. I'm just going to show you some of the inside here. So this is a live album on the back. So I have 2 albums here in the same little sleeve. I lost the jewel case, but I probably had it in a CD wallet at the time. Yeah, brings me back to a time and place, right? After winding down in the early 2010s, the band reunited occasionally for shows, reminding fans why we loved them so much, yeah? So they weren't just a band, they were a live experience. And they were back out on the road this year. Just over Christmas holiday, they did like a, I don't know, an 8-show set maybe. So they're still at it.
I have a prime minister, not a president.
I lost my helper. She's gone to bed, so you're stuck with me now. So we're asked to show an album about politics or that discusses political issues. All right, so for that one, I'm going with this album here from David Myles. Yeah, so David Myles is a multi-genre Canadian singer-songwriter from Fredericton, New Brunswick. He's known for his smooth vocals and genre-bending, kind of very rootsy sound. Yeah, he's released over a dozen albums and has won multiple Juno Awards, which is our equivalent to the Grammys. So his biggest breakout moment came when he teamed up with rapper Classified on the hit Inner Ninja. Sort of a cross genre, once again, cross genre smash hit that was Canada's biggest selling rap single ever, which also bagged a Juno. That collaboration showed Myles can kind of blend folk, pop, jazz, and hip hop in kind of a fresh new way. It's a great tune, by the way. Check it out if you're into rap music, hip hop at all. It's yeah, great tune with that infectious hook by Myles here. But yeah, it brought his music to a new audience across the country, and it's where I first heard David Myles. But for some reason, it took me a long time to actually pick up an album. I guess because I was overseas, I guess. But now why I'm mentioning him for this question is in 2005, during the last federal election, he shifted gears, and with a political science degree in hand and decades of community work behind him, Dave ran for office as a Liberal candidate and was elected as a member of Parliament for Fredericton Ormocto in the federal election. So whether he's writing songs or serving in Ottawa, David Myles brings his storytelling and community spirit to everything he does. On this album, Into the Sun, the opening track, Run, is great. Run into the sun, that's the hook. Simple Pleasures is probably my favorite though. Song just talking about the simple pleasures in life. Fantastic song. The Sea is a beautiful instrumental. It's got horns in there. It's just it's a short little ditty, but great tune. And there's a bonus track on this CD, which is the Simple Pleasures Classified mix. So yeah, I've been a bit late to David Myles, but really glad I am listening to him now. If you like singer-songwriter, Americana kind of music, check out David Myles. Beautiful.
I speak English and French, not American.
So English and French, yeah? Well, here in Cape Breton, we do have a couple of French language communities, the biggest being Chéticamp in the north and Almadam in the south. It's the Acadian French, though, so it's a little different than the Quebecois French, both of which are different than France French. We also have Mi'kmaq that's spoken on the island, which is the indigenous language. Yeah, a lot of immigrant languages, of course, are spoken here now. And we also have a little bit of Gaelic that's spoken. So the first settlers here set up communities, and Gaelic was spoken probably into the 40s and 50s, maybe into the 60s when it was really starting to die off. There was an ongoing effort to save it that continues to this day. They built a Gaelic college where you can go and study the language and the music. The Celtic music lives on very strongly, and with it, so does the language. So I'm going to highlight an album that preserves the Gaelic language of the island here. So if you think of East Coast Canada and Celtic music, one of the first bands that you often think of is this band right here, the Rankin family. So they're siblings that brought Cape Breton Gaelic traditions into the spotlight with this album, their 1993 album, North Country. The album is a mix of folk, country, and Celtic melodies, with song features Gaelic-inspired phrasing, ornamentation, and harmonies, including 3 fully Gaelic songs. They have the translation, so there's Love Song, there is Ho Row, My Nut Brown Maiden, and Boat Song are the 3 here. Most of the other songs are written by Jimmy Rankin. So tracks like North Country and Fare Thee Well showcase the melodic storytelling and vocal blends that made them a household name here on the island and around Canada, while the Mull River Shuffle is a party starter that songwriter Jimmy Rankin often uses to close shows to this day. The album isn't just music, it's a celebration of community, language, and heritage, connecting listeners to the rhythms and stories of the Nova Scotia Gaelic roots. With this album, the Rankins prove you can honor tradition while reaching a global audience, while keeping Cape Breton voices alive. I love it.
And I pronounce it about, not a boot.
For this one, we're asked to show an album with a boot or other form of footwear on the cover. So I'm going with another CD. I think I have more CDs than I have records in this particular tag. Anyway, how about this one? There's some boots. Amanda Marshall's wearing boots in this one. Maybe I'll take it out of the jewel case so you can see it better. There we are. There's Amanda Marshall with some boots. I'm going to call those boots. Amanda Marshall, what an incredible singer-songwriter. What can I tell you about Amanda Marshall? She's oftentimes compared to like a Sheryl Crow. Very powerful, strong, like deep, strong voice. Just outstanding. This album had lots of hits here in Canada. I think the one that might have made it outside of Canada, was it Birmingham? I think it was Birmingham that made it outside Canada. But Let It Rain was a big hit. Fall from Grace was a big hit. What's the name of this album? It's just self-titled. Dark Horse, even Beautiful Goodbye had airplay. Sitting on Top of the World. Just a fantastic album by a fantastic artist. So if you like that singer-songwriter, strong vocalist, check out Amanda Marshall.
I can proudly sew my country's flag on my backpack.
As someone who's had the pleasure of doing a bit of backpacking through Latin America, particularly Central America, and through Southeast Asia, with the flag sewn to my backpack, I can attest that when people would know I was Canadian, they would treat me differently, and a good difference. And that would fill me with pride for the people who came before me, right? So for this one, we're asked to show an album cover that's predominantly red and white, a combination of the two, or has a maple leaf on it. So I'm going to go with this one. When it dropped in 2003, the Trews' debut album, House of Ill Fame, announced a fresh, gritty Canadian rock voice. Hailing from Nova Scotia, the band blended arena-ready rock riffs, heartfelt lyrics, and tight harmonies, all with a distinctly Canadian perspective. Many songs reflect the struggle, ambitions, and pride of everyday Canadians navigating life in small towns, work, love, while dreaming big. Tracks like Not Ready to Go and Tired of Waiting capture the relentless energy of youth in Canada, while the band's roots shine through in subtle storytelling about home, identity, and life on the road. House of Ill Fame isn't just a rock album, it's a Canadian anthem for ambition and perseverance, proving that Canada has its own hard rock heroes with stories worth shouting across the country. And I think they only got better in subsequent albums.
I believe in peacekeeping, not policing.
I have family in the military who have served all over the world in peacekeeping missions, so that tradition really means something to me. So we're asked to show a song either about peace, promoting peace, or was played for a cause such as Live Aid. And so I'm going to start with this. This is a single. I don't have very many singles. This is one. And it's We Are the World. But it's in the sleeve for Tears Are Not Enough, which was the Canadian artist's response to this. Famine relief in Africa. But it's not a very good song. Yeah, Bryan Adams was on it. I can't even remember who else. But what's a much better song, in my opinion, was Kanon's Wavin' Flag. Yeah, so I have the 2014 World Cup album, but I don't have the 2010 album. But it's such a good song that I want to talk about it anyway. So Kanon was a young boy in Somalia growing up amid the conflict. So music was his life. He came from a family of poets and I guess intellectuals, you would say. And when they immigrated to Toronto, he brought those stories with him, and stories of struggle, resilience, and hope, really. And in 2009, he released Wavin' Flag on the album Troubadour. It was inspired by experiences of refugees and as well as his own journey. The song is about freedom, dignity, and perseverance. Its uplifting chorus and driving rhythms made it perfect for the 2010 FIFA World Cup anthem, bringing it to a whole new worldwide audience. Later that same year, when the devastating earthquake hit Haiti, Kanon joined over 50 Canadian artists to remake Wavin' Flag as a charity single under the name Young Artists for Haiti. The lyrics were adapted and reflected the relief effort. All the proceeds went to organizations like Feed the Children, War Child Canada, and World Vision. The single hit #1 in Canada, raising over $1 million to help rebuild communities and provide aid for those affected. So Kanon's journey from war-torn Somalia to Canada, and then using his music to support humanitarian causes. This shows how a song can transcend borders and inspire change. Wavin' Flag isn't just a hit, it's a story of hope, resilience, and giving back. And I think it's a Canadian story.
Diversity, not assimilation. And
All right, number nine. A band or duo that are either biracial, multi-ethnic, or made up of members from multiple countries. I'm actually going to skip this one. I think that previous story kind of tells this tale already. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to leave a link down below by Peace Chocolate, who are a Syrian family who immigrated to Nova Scotia and have been doing wonderful things here in Nova Scotia, which I think helps to highlight how our diversity in Canada is seen as a strength.
And that the beaver is a truly proud and noble animal.
Number 10, a song title or lyric, album cover, or band name with a noble or trustworthy animal on it. Could be real or mythical. All right, so this is the first of, I think, three and a half appearances by this band. And I'm actually surprised it took to 10 to get here because they're the quintessential Canadian rock band. And we'll talk more about why that is later. But I'm talking about the Tragically Hip. Yeah, so this is their album fully, completely. This isn't part of the album, but that's a hockey card. If you know, you know. But the song I want to talk about on here is Wheat Kings. What's Wheat Kings? Track 10. Hey, number 10, track 10. Hey, there you go. The opening of Wheat Kings starts with a sound that immediately sets the mood. It's the haunting call of the loon. An animal so noble, we've put it not only on our money, but we've named our money after it, yeah? This small detail, but it's incredibly powerful in the song. Yeah, the loon is an iconic Canadian symbol, often associated with wide open lakes and solitude in the North's wild landscape. By placing it at the start of the song, the Tragically Hip root the song deeply in the Canadian landscape, giving listeners a sense of space and melancholy before the first musical note ever hits. Wheat Kings tells the story of David Milgars, a man who was wrongly imprisoned, and the loon adds sort of an atmosphere of isolation and reflection, mirroring the themes of freedom and injustice and longing in the lyrics. It's a perfect example of how the Tragically Hip use small sonic details to evoke place and emotion in the story, making the listeners feel like they're not just hearing Canada, they're experiencing Canada.
A toque is a hat, a Chesterfield is a coach, and it is...
I did indeed grow up calling it a Chesterfield, particularly I think of my grandmother's place. She had a Chesterfield, and it was wrapped in plastic. Absolutely. So for this one, we want an album cover with someone wearing something on their head, a toque perhaps, or with someone sitting on a Chesterfield. So here I have someone sitting on a Chesterfield. This is Miss Emily. And when I said that I had a, 2.5, 3.5 Tragically Hip albums, this is the half. Because this is Gord Sinclair, which is bass, and Rob Baker, who would be guitar, I guess. And yeah, they're half of the Tragically Hip. Yeah. What can I say about Miss Emily? Yeah, she is a country blues rock singer with amazing voice. Knew nothing about her before picking this up. Got this at the thrift store. Was signed on the back, so I thought that was kind of cool. And so just picked it up off the basis of that, half the Tragically Hip are on here. Yeah, and it's good. Her voice is outstanding. I really enjoy it. Yeah, highly recommend this one. Check out Miss Emily. I'm not sure how many other albums she has, but I enjoyed this one.
And it is pronounced Z, not Z.
Number 12. Show 2 albums in which the band name or artist's last name starts with the letter A or Z. All right, so starting with A, this is an album I've shown a number of times before, just taking it off the wall. This is Adam Baldwin's album, Concertos and Serenade. Adam Baldwin is a Canadian singer-songwriter known for his heartfelt folk and acoustic music and his rocking rhythms. Hailing from Nova Scotia, he blends storytelling, melodic guitar, and rich vocals to capture the spirit of Canadian life and landscapes. His songs often explore personal journeys, community, and the connections within those communities, earning him recognition on the East Coast music scene and far beyond. Baldwin's music is intimate, yet universal. He's a modern voice rooted in the folk tradition, perfect for listeners who love thoughtful, authentic songwriters. And I think he's one of the most underrated artists in Canada today. He's just outstanding. And for Z, I have this album here, Rush's Moving Picture. Wait, Rush and Moving Picture. Neither one of those starts with Z. Well, how about if I tell you I'm talking about Alex Lifeson. Still no Z? Well, Alex Lifeson was born Alexander, I'm going to butcher this, I'm sorry, I'm going to try it because it's a Z, Zivojinovic. I apologize. So he's born in Toronto, 1953. Grew up in a Serbian immigrant family. His parents brought the Serbian language, culture, and traditions into the household, shaping his identity from a very early age. His cultural foundation influenced his creative work and his work ethic, helping him to develop the technical skills and emotional depth that would define his guitar playing. Life's roots combined with the Toronto music scene eventually led him to co-found Rush, becoming the cornerstone of progressive rock worldwide.
Canada is the second largest landmass.
Number 13. Any song, title, or lyric with a Canadian place name. For that, we're going back to the Tragically Hip. We want this album here in Violet Light. Let's take it out of the case so you can see that beautiful cover. There it is, isn't that gorgeous? So comedian Rick Mercer once shared a story that perfectly captures who lead singer Gord Downie really was. Not just a rock star, but a real good listener and a true Canadian. While the Hip were working on this album in Bermuda, I believe it was, Gord wanted to make sure he was pronouncing the name of a place in Newfoundland correctly, Isle of Mort, which, by the way, means it's French for Dead Man's Island. Yeah, it's a tiny town just south of Port aux Basques, Newfoundland, which is where the ferry that leaves from here, just down the road, over to Newfoundland docks in Port aux Basques, and Isle of Mort is about 15, 16 kilometers south of there. In any case, so Gord picks up the phone and calls Rick Mercer and asks how he would pronounce it. Gord gives him an answer that says, if you really want to make sure, check with my father, and gives his father's number. Rick wasn't thinking anything of it, but what happens next, I guess, is Gord calls Rick's dad from Bermuda and identifies himself as Gord, Rick's friend, and ends up talking to his father for over an hour, never once indicating that he was the lead singer of one of Canada's most popular bands. I think the story really shows kind of just how Gord wasn't just curious about Canadian places. He genuinely cared about getting them right and listened to people wherever they're from. That humility and respect helped make him not just a beloved musician, but a Canadian icon. And Rick tells that he went back to Newfoundland to visit his father. And what does he notice on the dining room table but an original screen printing of the cover photo, which was painted by guitarist Rob Baker. So multi-talented. Let's get nice and close there so you can see that. Isn't that great? Absolutely gorgeous. And the song itself is probably my favorite one on the album. It's about a shipwreck, and I guess Gord actually wrote it, at least in part, while he was on the ferry, and there was the storm, and it's based on a poem by Wallace Stevens, it says here. And, it follows the stanza 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like the original poem does. And yeah, it's about being on a boat that you're worried that's going to sink. And, as someone who makes a living on the water, that quite resonates with me. So great song and a great story to go along with it.
The first nation in hockey.
Number 14, an album cover or song that depicts any Canadian sports team's name in the song. All right, so this is the final appearance by the Tragically Hip. By the way, if you are interested in the Tragically Hip and you haven't yet seen the documentary, it is fantastic. I think it's like a 4-part documentary. Can't remember which streaming service it's on, but it is outstanding. If you're at all interested in the Tragically Hip, check it out. You will not be disappointed. Okay, so I'm going to show from Phantom, what's the name of this? Phantom Power, the song Firework. The song Firework is a love song, but it is set to a backdrop of the Canada-Russia, the Summit series. I'm going to read the lyrics for you. It starts off, if there's a goal that everyone remembers, it was back in old 72. We all squeezed the stick and we all pulled the trigger. And all I remember is sitting beside you. You said you didn't give a fuck about hockey, and I never saw someone say that before. You held my hand and we walked home the long way. You were losing my grip on Bobby Orr, Bobby Orr being a famous hockey player. I love that. That's fantastic. I can imagine, I wasn't there in 72, but I can imagine how important that overtime goal, that game-winning goal, I don't think it was overtime, Henderson got in 1972 to win the Summit Series against the Red Army, yeah? And I can imagine that feeling because I felt it myself right here. Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby in Vancouver with the golden goal. That's my version of the 72 Summit Series goal. Although we also now have the Four Nations goal, overtime winning goal with McDavid against the U.S., and that one kind of has a political feel to it, right? That was during the 51st state kind of nonsense that Trump was going on, and what's his name from the Toronto Maple Leafs? Anyway, so there was a political element to that one as well, and Canada came through again and won, so I can imagine what it felt like. So there's what I'm going for my hockey song, yeah, Tragically Hip, Firework.
And the best part of North America! My name is Joe, and I am Canadian!
15. Show either the 24th album alphabetically in your collection or an album or song about beer or whiskey. I'm going to go with the latter. I'm a beer drinker myself. I don't mind whiskey, but I'm more of a rum drinker. We tend to drink rum out east here, and there's a whole lot of old trade routes and things that I could do a whole dissertation on, but I'll save that for another time. I have this album, Ryan's Fancy, Newfoundland drinking songs, and the song is The Night Pat Murphy Dies. The Night Pat Murphy Dies. Track number 2 on this one after the intro. So in the late 1800s, this was written by J.C. Patterson. It began circulating widely by oral tradition, covered by artists like the Irish Rovers, Great Big Sea, the Clancy Brothers, and including the Dropkick Murphys, who do a nice rendition. The Night Pat Murphy Died is the classic Newfoundland drinking song performed by Ryan's Fancy on this album right here. The tune tells a humorous and chaotic story of Pat Murphy's wake, full of mishaps, rowdy friends, and playful exaggeration. Ryan's Fancy, let's go that way there, is known for celebrating Newfoundland music and storytelling tradition. They use this song to showcase the province's love for community, humor, and lively pub culture. Between the catchy chorus and the comic verses, listeners get a vivid picture of a wild Newfoundland wake, while singing, drinking, and storytelling all coming together. It's not just a song, it's a glimpse into the heart of Newfoundland life, full of humor, warmth, and a sense of shared tradition that Ryan's Fancies brought audiences across Canada and beyond to this lovely music. Thank you. Okay, number 16, our final prompt, an apologetic, thankful, or polite song. I'm going with Sloan. The album is action-packed, and the song is The Rest of My Life. So it isn't a traditional thank you song, but it is full of gratitude and spirit. From the opening chord, the song feels reflective and optimistic, capturing a sense of valuing what really matters in life. Lyrically, I think it's about choosing to spend life meaningfully, appreciating the people and the moments that make it worth living. It asks, am I going to settle down, or am I going to be someone who takes the rest of my life to settle down? And it goes kind of back and forth about that. But there's one thing that it is certain about. Quote, I know that I'll be living it in Canada. Among all the uncertainty, that line lands like a love letter to this country. Musically, the upbeat rock tone and the harmony vocals reinforce the feeling of a joyful acknowledgement that even amid life's challenges, the narrator is grateful for the connection, the love, and a future here in Canada. In the end, the rest of my life isn't just a personal reflection. It's a celebration of home, love, and the simple gratitude of living in a place you belong. I think that's a great way to end this video. And that is Canada on Wax. You know, something about this place. I'm never quite sure how I can explain it, but I've lived overseas for 15 years before moving back. And, you know, there's something about it here. We don't get everything right. Far from it, in fact. But, you know, we're working on it. And we're working on it in a meaningful way, I think. So that's it, folks. Thanks. If you made it this far, my goodness, thank you for sticking it out. Peace and love.